First, download the free Automated Installation Kit ISO from Microsoft. Let's take a look at using some of the built-in Windows imaging tools. And so we're going to download and install the Automated Installation Kit. And again, I prefer using tools like CloneZilla on Pendrive Linux or Norton Ghost, but it's just a built-in Windows tool, so such that if you have Windows, and it's there and it's for free. And I've already downloaded the tool, but you'll want to go find it. And in this case, it's just an ISO file that you can mount. Second, once downloaded, burn the ISO to a CD or mount and extract it with a tool like Daemon Tools or Power ISO. So I downloaded the ISO, and you could use a tool like Power ISO and extract it, or Daemon Tools or Daemon Tools Lite if you have that, or you can burn it to a disk if you want. Either way, but take the ISO. In this case, I have it in the form of a disk. And you want to launch the program called Start Now, which will install the Windows Automated Installation Kit. So I'm going to do Windows AIK Setup. And I'm going to click on Next and agree with the statement. You can go with the defaults, everyone. Next, next. And installation is complete. And notice when we do that, it adds the System Image Manager and Deployment Tools command prompt. And of course documentation, things like that. But basically the tool we'll be using is the Windows System Image Manager. Third, copy the source folder from your Windows 7 DVD to your hard drive. Next, you're going to need the source folder from a Windows 7 DVD, 32, 64. In this case, I'm doing the 32-bit version of Windows 7 Ultimate. And if you use a DVD, remember it's read-only, and you'll have permission problems if you try to build this image just using the DVD. So what you've got to do is you need to copy the sources folder to your hard drive where it's writable, where you can modify the permission and give it write or full permission, and then you'll be all set. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to go here onto my Windows 7 DVD, and what I need is the sources folder. And if you want to take a look at it, it's about 2.25 gigabytes, so 2.25 gigabytes, and so we'd need at least that much free space. I'm going to copy in here. I don't have a lot of free space, but you want at least enough space for the source files and also to build an image file. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that here. And I'll put it here in my backup folder where I have other things as well. So we're just going to copy that whole sources folder. Okay, and in this case the folder is copied, and what I'm interested in is the .wim files, the Windows image files. Let me throw that in as a filter. And in this case, We're not interested in the boot Windows image file, but we want the install Windows image file in the sources folder. It's about 2 gig. Again, remember, this needs to be copied to your hard drive and made writable. So you couldn't just pull that right off your Windows 7 DVD because it would be read-only. You wouldn't be able to modify permissions on it. And with that set, we're all ready to make images. Fourth, with the AIK installed, launch System Image Manager, or SIM. Now that we have the automated installation kit installed, the part of it that we want to use is, well, there's a shortcut right there, but I'll just show you the whole folder. The Windows System Image Manager. So I'm going to launch that. And remember that we'll need a folder with our Windows source files and the Windows image. And we've already copied that to our C drive. Okay. 5. Create a distribution share. Click Tools, Create Distribution Share. So having done that, let's go to Tools and we'll say Create Distribution Share. And in this case, we can create this anywhere we want. We can call it what we want. But let's make it in here, well, at the root directory level, the C drive, and I'll throw it inside of backup. And I'll just make a folder called Share. Alright. So C backup share is where we're going to create it. 6. Select the Windows System image. Click File, select Windows image. And let's go to File and select Windows image for a Windows image file. And here's where we need to go find our source folder. And remember that we copied that to backup. So I'm going to look in sources. And I don't want boot Wim, but I want install Wim. That's the 2 gigabyte. If I hold, so 2.03 gigabytes. If I hold the mouse over there, you can see the pop-up. So I'm going to click on Open. And notice that I can choose what type of image do I want to create. Starter, Home Basic, Home Premium, Professional, or Ultimate. In this case, I'm going to choose Ultimate. Alright, so notice that all of these files now appear here. In this case, these are the sources. 7. Create an answer file. Click File, New Answer File. And now next, let's make an answer file. So I'm going to click on File and New Answer File. Alright, and when I do, this pops up for a new answer file. Now we need to configure the answer file. With our distribution share created and our Windows System image file loaded and our new answer file, we need to go in and configure it. So first off, we have to go into our image file that we've loaded and find the right image that we want to build our answer file on. And there's 64-bit AMD, and then there's Intel, and there's 32-bit, and in this case I'm 32-bit, or I want to build a 32-bit image and a 32-bit environment, and it's Intel based. And so you want to go down and find the setup. So I just open the node up here, components. I'm just going down and looking for x86, not AMD 64, but x86. And I want to look for Microsoft Windows setup. Here we go, neutral. Right here. I'm going to pull this out so you can see it, and then I'll click it so you can highlight it. So x86 Microsoft Windows setup 617616 underscore neutral. Particularly is the one that I want, and that's under the Windows 7 Ultimate image under components. Capiche? So I'm going to open this node here by just clicking on these little plus symbols, the nodes, and you can drill down. Notice as I do, watch what happens over here in these panes. Right? If I close this, select another image or another component, look at that. So this is a way of navigating different properties and sections of the answer file that you want to configure. And the first thing we want to do here, we need to tell the answer file how to partition the system and prepare it for the installation of Windows 7. So I'm going to go into disk configuration right here. Right, again, watch how it changes. And I'm going to open up disk configuration. And from disk configuration, I'm going to go to disk. I'm going to open up disk. And from disk, I'm going to go to create partitions, and I'm going to open up create partitions with an S, plural, and then under that I'm going to go to create partition singular, no S, and that container there. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say add setting to pass one Windows preboot environment, or PE. Alright, and notice how when I did that it was added up here. Okay, and then I want to do the same thing with modify partitions, so I'm going to go down here, I'm going to click on the plus symbol to open the node for modify partitions with an S, the plural version. Go down to modify partition singular, no S, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to say add setting to pass one Windows preboot environment. And again, when I do that, notice it appears over here in the middle pane under the answer file. Okay, so now I'm going to hop on over to the answer file box and come up here. And the pane in the middle of the screen, I'm going to select the disk container. And when I select the disk container, notice over here that the property sheets come up for any component that I select. So I'll just show you what I'm talking about. I'll go down a few of these here just to show you. Alright, so see how that changes in the right pane? Just kind of a nice graphical tool to help you configure answer files. Alright, but in this case I have disk selected, and on disk under settings I'm going to set the disk ID to be 0. Remember that everything starts with 0 in computers and not 1. And then we'll wipe disk. You can either type true and false, or you can click on the little drop down box over here and select true or false. But in this case, yes, it's going to be the first disk, first partition, and yes, we want to format or wipe the disk. We want to clean it just in case there's some old information on there that'll mess up the installation, or who knows, could be viruses or old data or something. But yeah, we want to format it and clean it and completely wipe out the disk and start from scratch. So that's how we're configuring that. Now I'm going to select the create partition node, and we can create we can modify a few properties for that. So in this case, as far as being extended, we're going to change that to be true. And as far as the order, we're going to make that 1. We're going to skip size, and let's come down here, and the type, in this case we're going to create a primary partition. Make all different sorts, but generally, unless you're doing a multi-boot, you want to configure Windows 7 on a primary partition for the operating system. Okay. Now the next thing we want to configure is modify partition. So I'm going to go over here and select modify partition. And when I do that under modify partition, let's set some of our properties here. We'll go to active. Remember that in order for a partition to be able to boot, or in order for Windows or any other operating system for that matter to be able to boot off of a partition, it needs to be marked as active. So we're going to make that true, because the partition does need to be active. Alright, now the formatting, we're going to set it to NTFS, and we'll skip whether it's extended, but NTFS, think about it, without NTFS you can't have compression or encryption, because FAT32 doesn't support that. You can't have file sizes over 4 gigabytes if you're using FAT32 instead of NTFS. NTFS, you get big, large file sizes. Most importantly, though, you get the permission systems. The discretionary access control list, or DACL, DACL, and the access control entries, or ACEs, all comes with NTFS. So we want to use that. Now the label could be anything. Windows, whatever you want to call it. I'll call mine banana. Okay? And the letter, and typically, we know by default that usually the root system partition is C. Could be something else in a multi-boot setup or multiple partitions, but usually it's C. The order is going to be 1, and the partition ID is going to be 1. You can come down here and put 1 right there, and we'll leave the type ID blank. And there's a nice tool here. It's almost like spell check for answer file syntax. But if you come up here to tools and see this as validate answer file, you can click on that, and it'll kind of do like the equivalent of spell check, or if you're not a programmer, if you're a programmer and you're used to using a compiler, basically it just does, it's like building a project, and it will check all the syntax and give you feedback on it. If there's any errors or problems, it'll show up down here in the description, and if not, it'll tell us no errors, no problems. So let's run that, validate answer file, and we get no warnings or errors. Yay! Next, we will create a configuration set. The next thing we need to do is create a configuration set. And we could do this where we create our distribution share. Be a logical place. So I'm going to click on Create Configuration Set from the Tools menu. And you can go over and browse to it if you want, but in this case it was on Computer, C, Backup, and Share. Double click there. And I'm going to click on OK. And notice it says configuration set created successfully. I'll click OK. And let me just open up Windows Explorer here. And let's look at the C partition, and in Backup, and in Share. And you can see, in this case, it's created the files for us. Okay. So with the configuration set created, let's go ahead and close System Image Manager, and we'll save our answer file. So you can save it manually, or if you click close, it'll prompt you to save it.